You are listening to the wide world of woo, Tical. We're talking Method Man, Tical. My name's Tyler. Andy is on the other line. What's going on, Andy?
Not much. Been having this weird cold thing. It's not COVID, but I just feel off. I was gonna do some extracurricular activities for this episode because Method Man, but I'm not feeling it today. So
Probably wise.
yeah.
You got the headache, sore throat, stuffy head, fever, congestion. What's up?
All of the above. The headache's kind of gone away. I had one this morning, but I've took some vitamin C and just took some Tylenol, and I'm
Okay,
feeling all right now. So
that's good.
mostly just tired.
Yeah, tiredness and headache's always the worst for me. So I'm glad you got that out of the way at least.
For sure.
So we are talking Method Man's Tical, released on November 15th, 1994 on Def Jam as the first solo album post 36 Chambers. Of course, Jizza and Prince Rakim had their solo attempts prior to the Wu-Tang, but this is the first Wu-Tang solo album. It peaked at number 4 on the Billboard 200, hit platinum less than a year later, July 13th, 1994. The original US release had 13 tracks and 3 singles: Bring the Pain, Release Yourself, and a remix single of All I Need, which turned into the longest name of a song, I'll Be There For You / You're All I Need to Get By, with Mary J. Blige, which has to be the longest name for a song to win a Grammy, at least in the best rap performance by a group or duo category. Which I believe was the first Grammy award for any member of Wu-Tang. Don't quote me on that, and or correct me if I'm wrong. All the tracks were produced by the RZA except for Sub Crazy and PLO Style, which were co-produced by Fourth Disciple and Method Man. Videos were made for Bring the Pain, Release Yourself, and the Mary J. Blige collab. So these videos, a little higher budget, I think it seems like, than the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, but not total departures. What do you think about these videos?
They actually this album, particularly in these videos, I had a similar thing to the 36 Chambers videos and stuff, where I actually really remember them pretty well from when I was younger.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I liked them. They had this overall, like, especially back then, Method Man kind of had that grimy feel, and like the videos kind of represented that pretty well, where he has this very charismatic personality that we all know.
Mm-hmm.
And back then he just had that, like, where his hair was up and he had the contacts in and the fronts in.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a really cool image. Yeah. So I like that.
Related to horrorcore, would you associate Method Man in any way with horrorcore?
Actually, so man, I'm gonna try not to go on a tangent here.
Do it
but
anyway.
Okay. So when I was younger, I'm sorry for my older brother to talk about this, because if he listens, I'm sure he listens to this podcast, and it might be incredibly embarrassing for him, but he was a really big juggalo. and So I mostly up until like the early thousands, I know a lot of that stuff just because of him.
Okay.
And the first Twisted album, Most Tasteless, Tasteless, sorry, has a sample of Method Man and on a song called Murder, Murder, and it's just him going murder, murder, murder. So I
Uh,
think honestly that Method Man has somehow influenced that culture a little bit, especially with that era of Tical and that art,
mhm,
like his artistic style in that era, especially.
mhm, mhm.
And even on the first Blackout album, they have that song. I can't remember the title of the song, but it's all about like horror movies, slasher movies. Actually, I
Mm,
think the sample's from that song.
okay.
Anyways,
Okay.
so yeah, sorry, Billy, for embarrassing you.
You said was a juggalo, so
Yeah,
maybe
no,
that's the operative word.
yeah, he's a dad now. So he's also
Yeah.
40. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, yeah. So I was thinking about that earlier, and I could see where maybe, if not outright horrorcore, definitely also kind of horrorcore adjacent. Like we either mentioned on the Ninth Prince podcast, or if we haven't released that one yet, we will mention on the Ninth Prince podcast. Um, because, like you mentioned, the contacts and like the just some of the uh like the in the Release Yodelf video, like the creepy white masks of like the band backup dancer guys, and like
That was
meth
super
and
cool.
kind of like a like straight jacket looking thing. um yeah, like the imagery was kind of there, and maybe it goes back to like the torture skit, that is like a little bit like sick and twisted and kind of horror like adjacent, I would say. And So I don't know how much that actually um, influenced some of the stuff on this album, but there are definitely references to it. And so it's just, yeah, something I've been thinking about, like, where does Method Man fit in horror? It's certainly no like grave diggers, but
Oh,
there is something to it. So Bring the Pain, I thought was a cool, like very 90s video. I like that we got to see Booster, the guy who did like the dance hall vocals in that song,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
who goes like, kind of, I don't know if uncredited is the right word, but like there's definitely not a lot that I could find about Booster, but it plays a really key role in that song. The Release Yodelf video, like I said, I kind of like the horror themes. He had the vampire teeth, kind of similar to what RZA had on in the famous David Corio photos. I've posted a couple on our Instagram account. Um, and then All I Need was wow, maybe you'll have to explain to me what was going on in this video. There was a lot. So it's like he's chilling with his girl. They get kicked out. He gets kicked out by his girl's mom, right, or like shoot away. And as he's leaving, there's like a heist in the apartment building or something, or there's something going on. And then like the next 3 minutes or so, I have no idea what's going on. And then he comes and then he like comes back with like a box of something, which maybe it's more clear to you what's in it. I was thinking it was like Trojans or something, but I don't know. What's your what's your interpretation of this video?
Well, I guess what I was thinking kind of just I hadn't seen this video since I was a kid, so watching it again was kind of interesting because I actually remembered it pretty well. But I kind of looked at it as like he's writing this kind of like, like a hood love song, and
Uh-huh.
it so like in the video basically like he even in the lyrics like he's kind of like basically saying like I'm with you, I love you. When I come back, like we're gonna be together. So
Yeah.
basically like he's like speaking from somebody who's like committing crimes and about to get locked up. I mean, he's basically telling this girl, like, it's just me and you. I hope that you stay with me, even when I get out, because you always have my back. So I figured basically that's what's going on in the video. Like he's kind of, the video is interpreting that side of the lyrics. Like
Okay.
he's doing something and he's about to get in trouble for it, but he's like telling this girl how much he loves
Yeah.
her.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. I'll have to watch it again with that. I mean, I think I seems to be accurate based on my recollection. So, um, but
I mean, I
very
might have read into it too far, but
well, I don't know. It was like a very theatrical video, and so
yeah,
it's not surprising that he went on to have a career in acting based on
for
that
sure.
video. Um, what do you think of the artwork?
I really like this album cover a lot, actually. Actually, this is kind of a random fact, but when Kendrick did SNL, I can't remember what album it was he was doing SNL for, but he when he did that, he actually his whole outfit on that performance was a tribute to this album cover because it was the 20th anniversary of it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive, and I'm very curious what that looks like because all you can see is like part of his face, and I don't know. But actually, I don't own this album, so maybe I could see it better in person. But all I see is like his face breathing out some smoke. What am I
Mhm.
missing?
Well, I think like this wardrobe was based on like what Method Man was probably more so what he was wearing at the time, but like
Okay.
definitely like his like hair and everything was and he had a grill on and everything just like Method Man that's on the cover. So
Okay. Okay.
I thought that was pretty cool. I've
That
always
is.
liked it because it's very representative of Method Man. Like
Mhm. Right.
when you think of him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's a cool little tidbit about Kendrick Lamar, and I agree about how representative it is with the smoke and the grill and the just like the darkness and murkiness and
Mhm.
smokiness, like all of those things are kind of representative of at least this album. I haven't listened as much to like his later. I mean, he had basically two other Tical albums, the prequel and the day after. Is that right?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. So yeah, let's jump into what else? Anything else about this album? Any like background or folklore that you know about it?
No, I did. I'd heard it before, and then I re-looked up the acronym for what Cal stands for,
Right.
and then that was really about it, honestly. But other
Yeah.
than that, I was actually just thinking more about the horror thing, and I was thinking about how Wu-Tang is, mostly known for affiliating themselves with Kung Fu, but I feel like horror kind of falls into that same thing with them where they probably grew up watching a lot of like midnight horror movies on TV and everything, so maybe that's why it was so influential in the
Ah,
style.
yeah, that's a nice hypothesis. I bet you're right about that. Yeah, and the as you mentioned, the backronym for Tikal is taking into consideration all lives. Excuse me, taking into consideration all lives, which pretty sure is not an all lives matter reference, but well,
No.
obviously not because it was formulated in 1992 or 93. It is interesting though, like why like make a word that you just kind of repeat with apparently little meaning to, or at least relation to the context of the song. uh I mean, it's cool. I think it was a good idea. Like it stands out, it has some mystery to it. You're like, whoa, what does that mean? Like
Hmm.
what I read was like it was 2017 or so by the time he revealed what it stood for.
Oh
um
wow, I didn't realize that.
I could be wrong about that, but yeah. it's just weird, hearing that in so many songs and being like,
Uh-huh,
okay, whatever, just a weird thing that he says, but kind of a trademark. So
for
I don't
sure.
entirely understand it, but it's worked for him. That's really
Uh,
all I have for the background.
Definitely when you hear somebody say Tical, you know that they know Method Man. So
Right, yeah, that's true.
I actually always kind of thought it was like when I was younger, I always thought it was like a kind of weed or something.
Well, it probably is now, isn't it?
It could be nowadays, especially.
It might just be his signature strain or signature brand.
That definitely could be.
Yeah, I'll have to. I'm pretty sure it is, but I don't follow all the business dealings of the Wu that closely. But yeah,
It would, yeah, that's so, there's so much to,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Ghostface had chips that came out last year. Did you see those?
No,
Oh yeah, check out Ghostface chips. Yeah, there's just been so many. Um,
man, I wish I would have known about that.
yeah, yeah, they might still be available.
Get a stale bag of chips off of like the internet somewhere.
Yeah. So let's see. Just speaking broadly about this, I think you've listened to this way more than I have, but it's interesting to me that this album was as successful as it was. Not that it was bad or anything, but it's not nearly as critically acclaimed as like Only Built for Cuban Links or Liquid Swords, but it went platinum 20 years before either of those.
Mhm,
um, and it's also not really pop oriented, even though Method Man is arguably the most pop oriented rapper in Wu-Tang Clan.
for
um,
sure.
so that's really, it kind of struck me like, what was it that was so special about this? It's had some creative beats, and I think Method Man's kind of personality helped, but it's just an odd combination to have kind of like sinister dark beats, and then Method Man also kind of like sometimes a little twisted but also kind of fun. Nothing
Yeah,
really like radio poppy, I mean, until you get that like
Mary
Mary
J.
J.
Blige.
Blige remix, which, yeah, exactly, which there were a couple of. But well, yeah, what are your thoughts on all that?
I just think that he had that kind of star quality, and then he had already kind of had. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, one of my head died. Uh, he had that star quality, and he just kind of already had the hooks that he had written and everything. So I think that he was just running off of that. And
Uh-huh.
also in that era of hip hop, I mean, you had, Illmatic, you had kind of grimy hip hop that was popular at that
Hmm.
point in time,
Hmm.
which I think helped him, especially at that point in time.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I agree. I 100% agree because when I listen to this record, I remember hearing it back then, and like it is kind of weird to listen to it now and be like, I can't believe how popular this was
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it is really good. But I think the reason it doesn't get the same uh critical acclaim as like those other albums is because I don't know, those other albums, like I was thinking about this a lot. This album is really, really good. It's a great album, it's a great hip hop album. Obviously he's got a lot of great bars on here and everything too, but those albums to me, like they just had like those guys, he's definitely, him and You Got are like the most different, I think, out of all of them as far as the way that they rap.
Okay.
I think they both have more of like a pop or just more, you know, like more straight up hip hop,
Straightforward. Yeah.
yeah, appeal
Yeah.
to them than
Yeah.
other guys do. The other guys are like metaphors and
Hmm.
street lingo and
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's right. Yeah. I agree with that. The references, pop culture references Method Man makes, the wordplay is like accessible. So I do get it in some ways, and in other ways it's still kind of vexing to me. But it doesn't really matter because it is what it is. It sold a ton of copies and was really influential. So let's jump into the beats, bars, and top tracks, and start off by talking about the beats, which for me, I think they're really interesting. Not to use like a Midwestern euphemism, but I do I don't really love or hate most of them. Like some of them, Sub Crazy and all the original All I Need, they're not really like much I know of at the time, with in terms of like how almost industrial or like dubsteppy almost even. Like that Sub Crazy song even reminds me of like something Odd Future might do, you know, like pretty short and
Yeah.
like not relying on soul samples, but yeah, you know, just like different interesting kind of stuff. So I will say in general, I'm less enthusiastic about the beats on this. And that's not to say that they're bad. It's just not what I really like in beats. Like I gravitate more towards like the soul samples, like the warm sounds, or like the, you know, like different cultural sounds. And I think the best 30 seconds of this album in terms of production are right at the beginning, where it has that sample that's like the which Jizza used as the intermission on Pro Tools. So I love that. And then they go into that guillotine sample right at the
Hmm.
beginning on that first track,
Yep.
which of course we talked about a lot on our Cuban Links episode. Just a fantastic sample. So kind of interesting to hear that little snippet of such a great beat on this album. Um, I really like the Bring the Pain sample, kind of a spiritual or like gospel, like hymnal vocal sample. I really like the Mr. Sandman. I don't know. Do I
Yeah.
like that? I think I like it. It's
I I like that
yeah, it's
one.
like it's kind of creepy at
Hmm.
first, and then it gets like really intense. Um, yeah, so that one's cool. Blue Raspberry does a nice job on that, interpolating that Mr. Sandman song. Um, Release Yodelf, that has that Gloria Gaynor I Will Survive interpolation.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I gotta get this off my chest. I've been thinking about it for months now. I am almost positive I've heard another Wu-Tang song interpolate that Gloria Gaynor uh, chorus. And I know You God kind of does it as the opening track to Golden Arms Redemption, but I'm pretty sure there's another Wu-Tang song that samples or interpolates that, but it's like a little bit faster. Have you happened to ever hear that? Or it's also possible I'm crazy.
You might be, but I no, I'm just kidding. But I think you might be right, and I can't really think of what it is, and I wasn't thinking about it until you just said it, honestly. So
Okay.
now, like, I'm kind of stuck because I can't think of exactly what it is, but
Yeah, like I thought
I
maybe it was Ghostface that used it, or maybe I don't think it's You God because he did it with Enter You God.
it's tough to
Anyways,
say because like in hip hop in general, like hip hop samples itself so much,
right,
especially now. And then in the Wu-Tang Clan, like you can listen like that guillotine sample is I feel like it's been on several of these albums now.
right.
And I'd never really thought about that until we were like we started doing this.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's a good point. The when it gets to the beat, I really like the beat in that Release Yodelf. It's kind of like reminds me of like boxing music, like Rocky, like horn, like the
Yeah,
horns, really rich horns. Yeah, kind
I
of.
feel like he kind of did that video too. He had that robe on.
Oh, good observation. I didn't even notice
Yeah,
that.
yeah. No, it definitely has that like I'm ready to get in.
Right. Yeah. I thought Meth vs. Chef was cool. The beat for that was cool because it reminded me of a Raekwon song or like a Cuban Links type beat, like kind of smooth, stylistic. So I thought that was interesting and good. And then Stimulation, the chorus, the kind of like a 90s, like late 80s, early 90s party hip hop sound for Stimulation. But then like the beat during the verse was kind of like weirdly cinematic, like almost remind me of Wizard of Oz or like Gone with the Wind or some really old movie with like the strings. So
Yeah,
another pretty cool beat. But yeah, so those are the ones that I found like pretty cool. Other than that, I'm like not too crazy about the rest. So for me, it's like close to, I'm gonna say like a 7.8 out of 10. Like I don't I like about half. Well, no, I don't dislike any of them really, but there were only a handful that I really like. So yeah, 7.8. I think I'm pretty satisfied with that in terms of beats. It's just like I said, it's a lot of stuff that I think is cool and was maybe innovative at the time. It just doesn't resonate. Like it doesn't make me want to listen to it more because it's not my style of music.
yeah, yeah. No, for sure. All right. I think that's pretty fair. Because it is, yeah, no, it's definitely not what you think, like, especially with like Method Man's like personality
Mm-hmm.
and everything. It's not what you are like as far as musically, it's not what you expect to hear, I think, in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I guess I thought about this myself and I was thinking about kind of that same thing. But I feel like in a way, like as a producer, Rizzo was probably thought to himself like Method Man has such a presence, like his voice is so unique to him
Mm-hmm.
that maybe having these like kind of grimy, like almost I want to say like they're not lo-fi, but like having these like kind of grimy beats like that are kind of not R&B and not
Right.
not what you would almost expect to hear with his voice.
Yeah.
Um,
They're like
they,
basement beats, or I don't know.
yeah, they
That's
might,
what makes me think of it.
yeah. Which I am the opposite. I like both. I like the same style that you do, but I really like that like boom bappy like basement type style, like also. But I guess overall, as far as beats go, if I'm gonna give them a rating, just to kind of cut this a little bit shorter, I would have to say I would give it maybe an 8.
Okay. Okay.
I
Which
I
ones really stand out for you?
Uh, well, I really like the beat for Bring the Pain. I've always really just liked that song. It's a great
Yep.
single.
Yep.
As far as singles go, like I think that as a single was such a great choice in so many ways because it's not like it is a catchy song. It has all the things that a single should have,
Mhm.
but it also like is kind of like an FU to like pop music in a way because it's like it isn't exactly what a single should be either. It's still really hard and it's still got like some aggression to it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I really like that one. That beat's pretty dope. I really like the beat for Biscuits.
Okay.
Um, I'm trying to think of what else. I actually do like the What the Blood Clot beat. It's kind of got that I'd never heard this term until you barbecue style beat.
Uh-huh.
And then obviously Meth versus Chef. I like that beat a lot, and I just like the story behind it a lot.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
Yep. Cool. So bring the pain. Let's just jump into bars since we both done our beat score. And you brought up bring the pain. That's kind of like I said, I felt like some of this album, or maybe I don't want to go so far as to say like Meth's identity, but that torture skit really captured a lot of like his kind of like humor and like his kind of twisted horror persona. And that song "Bring the Pain" felt like it had a lot of references to that torture skit in terms
Hmm.
of its lyrics. And then also on Biscuits, where he said something like "Let me pull your brain out your ass with a hanger," like reminded me of torture. um and that song "Meth vs. Chef," like that's, kind of a callback to that also, because they're the ones who are engaged in that like routine or whatever, that torture game, right? It's those two, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it is those two. Yep.
Yep. So and I like the way that Meth vs. Chef starts off with that sample, that I think it's a kung fu sample about fighting 1-to-1, man-to-man. Just appropriate for like this battle style track. um I guess some of the lyrical moments that stood out for me were, I was kind of like chronologically confounded by, on Stimulation, he says, "Peace, my Mizza, Killer Hills 10304 by the Jizza got me wide, it's going Dizza." So he's like referencing a song that doesn't even exist yet, because this came out in 1994. Killer Hills 10304 by the Jizza came out on Liquid Swords in 1995. Like, what? Are we in a time warp? How does that happen?
Well, I do know that all these albums were being kind of simultaneously worked on around the same time. So maybe there might have been some demo tracks for Liquid Swords floating around in the studio while they were all writing, you know.
Yeah, that's very possible. Good point. Good point. And I know
Either that or Method Man can see in the future. I don't
that's what
know.
those contacts do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. They probably were. I know RZA definitely had his hands full. And I think one of the complaints was that this album was kind of rushed. Why Method Man has said that he doesn't hold it in as high regard as Liquid Swords and Cuban Links, even though it obviously outperformed them commercially considerably.
For sure.
Um, but the other one that was interesting was on the Method Man remix, which I'm not entirely sure I needed, but it has introduces the line, "It's the Meth Tical, Jet Tical, I'm the Buddha monk on the hunt for Machine Gun Funk," which
Yeah.
Machine Gun Funk, obviously a Biggie Smalls song, which he actually said was, I believe he said was his favorite. Biggie said it was his favorite of his own songs. Um, and they came out around the same time, just actually about a month
And Mess on
apart,
that
or
album.
no, 2 months apart. Sorry, what was that?
Oh, and Mess on that album also.
Right, he's on the what, right?
Yeah, he's on Ready to yeah, he's on the what? Sorry. Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I was, yeah, it just made me wonder, like, where did that come from? Who said Machine Gun Funk? I mean, there's no way that Method Man could have taken that line like after it was released, because there's no way the recording and production could have been done, like the CD production couldn't have been done in 2 months, I don't think. um
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there were just like you said, demos floating around or something. You know anything about that, or have any hypotheses?
Mostly just I know him and Biggie were pretty close. and they probably were hanging out or something. So he's
Yeah,
definitely. I love that song. Sorry, that is one
yeah,
of my favorite Biggie songs for sure. I love the
yeah,
beat.
yeah, me too. Um, let's see. Uh, bars. In terms of songs, I like Mr. Sandman. It comes hard and got a lot of good verses on that. Um, I think so. Let me recount it in my head. It starts off with RZA, and then it goes to Inspector Deck, and then Method Man maybe, and then I want to say it has both Street Life and Carlton Fisk, but on the streaming they just say
Carlton.
Carlton Fisk. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But on Genius, I think it says it was Street Life. I don't know. You know anything about that? I'm confused about it.
No, and that was actually something about this album that was kind of confusing to me, like going back, is that there isn't as many features on here as there is on the other Wu-Tang solo project, which I thought
Yeah.
was weird. Meth is such a big feature dude. Like
Right. Yeah, he's
he's
on
always
everybody else's albums.
yeah. But I have a feeling that might have something to do with his contract with Def Jam, probably, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because I know some of the, I mean, so I've heard some of the history of Def Jam and just how at that point in the label, especially, probably, they probably had a strong, grip on them.
Yep. Yep.
But I forgot what you asked me.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Oh,
the if Street Life was on it, and yeah, it doesn't mention it on the streaming credits, but at least on Wikipedia it says RZA, Inspected Deck, Street Life, Carlton Fisk, and Blue Raspberry. So I guess yeah, just a lot of good verses in that song.
yeah.
Um,
I'm sure that has a lot to do with just a streaming service messing it up as well.
right, for sure. So Mr. Sandman is probably my favorite track for bars. The overall bars score, let me take a look at what I have for bars. I think it's pretty solid. I'm like not blown away by a lot of it, but Method Man's got his own fun style. I'm gonna give bars an 8.4 for Tical. What about you? What do you got for bars?
I think that's a pretty solid score. Yeah, no, I was thinking, sorry, when you were talking, I was thinking about how you were saying how he's not as proud of this album as some of the other solo releases and how it was kind of rushed. But I think, as far as like any of it goes, he has that cool style. He has a very accessible style, yet, you know, kind of grimy and everything. There's nothing like, yeah, it's not super crazy, super barred out. I almost feel like Method Man has gotten more intricate with his bars as he's gotten older.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, like some of the stuff he puts out now is just like whoa.
Yeah.
But uh, but anyways, as far as this goes, I just think it really represents um his personality very well as far as the bars go and everything. So it's a lot of fun to listen to. It's a solid, very solid album. It's not the best, but it is very solid all the way through. And before I get into bars, I just wanted to say I forgot to mention Stimulation. I love that beat. Anyway, all right, I got
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. It's fun. It's interesting. It's like got that I would think of it as like a early 90s party type chorus.
yeah,
And
for
then
sure.
the beat during the verse is just kind of cool. And I don't
Mhm.
know. What do you have a way of describing the beat during the verse?
Oh man, it's kind of almost like it's weird because it's like I want to say it's got like it's the closest I think at that era of Wu-Tang that they got to like that's not true though. But I was gonna say it got to like funk and R&B, but I was like, then I started thinking about like Ghostface and stuff.
Okay, right.
But but it definitely has like it has the horns. It has kind of a funky feel
Yeah,
to it.
yeah,
It's very much like kind of a party track, which
right,
I really like. And then it has those strings, which I'm just like,
right.
where did that even come from? You know, but it fits so well.
Yep, yep, exactly. Okay, cool.
uh,
So what's your score for bars?
as far as bars go, I would have to say I'd give it like a 7.5. I don't
Okay.
think there's anything too crazy on here. I do think Mr. Sandman, Inspector Deck, his verse on there is pretty dope,
Yeah,
as always.
yeah.
But I mean that track has a typical posse cut of RZA coming in pretty hard and has some cool stuff, some RZA type stuff, and then
Yeah,
Inspector Deck comes in and just kind of kills it.
yeah.
Um, I think overall it's really solid. I don't think I have like a particular favorite song as far as bars go.
Hmm.
Um, but it's just, I mean, Method Man is so solid all the time. I don't think he ever like really disappoints me as far as his bars go because they're either really clever and funny or they're like really dark and kind of sinister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Just super solid and reliable.
Yes.
Um, top track, let's pick a top track each of us. Mine came down to Bring the Pain versus Mr. Sandman as my two top contenders. And I'm pretty sure in every episode that we've done where I've had the choice, I've selected the posse cut. So
Yeah.
you would think I would go with Mr. Sandman, but I'm actually going to go with Bring the Pain, to mix things up a little bit, and because while I do like Mr. Sandman a lot, and I think that it has definitely the best bars, and I like the variety of MCs. Um, the beat is like, it's really good. It's just not, I would much rather listen to the Bring the Pain beat, and that like
Yeah.
the smooth energy and the catchy chorus and the dance hall bridge with Booster is like, that's a really big moment for me. So I'm gonna go with Bring the Pain for my top track. What about you?
Dang. Switching it up on us.
Got
But
to.
yeah, man. No, I think that's a pretty solid assessment. I'm trying to think of what my top track on here would be because there is like I think the one thing I can really say about this album is it's maybe not like the best Wu-Tang solo album out of all of especially the ones we've done so far,
Mhm.
but it is like a totally solid record as far as the fact that I feel like it like unlike Iron Man, I think, you know, where it's just really a lot of really good songs on one album,
Mhm.
it really works together as a record. Like
Mhm.
this whole thing flows really well.
Mhm.
I think probably better than any of them so far,
Oh wow.
honestly.
Okay. Okay.
At least that's my opinion. But as far as I kind of have to agree with you on Bring the Pain. I just think it like I know it's the single, and I usually try not to make the single my favorite song on the record because I'm edgy. But but it is such a good track, and like I mean, it brings me back to being younger when it came out. It holds up to this day, I think, in like every way, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. You can't deny it when it's that good. So um
Exactly.
overall score, I think I know where you stand on cohesiveness. But thinking about cohesiveness, guests, production, stories, yeah, let's so I didn't pick up as much on the story aspect of it, or like the cohesiveness. I did notice there were like some car crashes early on, and I was like, because in Cuban Links, the car crash is like a pivotal part of the story when You God dies. And I was like, is there any significance to this, or is it just stylistic car crashes going on here? Um,
For
so maybe you have a better sense of like how the album fits together than I do. It's, I guess, more of a solo effort than a lot of the
yeah.
other albums would be. You know, fewer guests, fewer Wu. The only Wu members are RZA, Raekwon, and Inspectah Deck, and then you've got affiliate verses from Street Life and Carlton Fisk, and singing from Blue Raspberry. Um, but it's, yeah, it's a solid album, stands on its own, pivotal in the Wu-Tang, you know, breaking out into their respective successful solo careers. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 for overall score. What you got?
So I kind of thought of, now that we're talking about it, I was kind of thinking about how um it kind of has, like, if it has an overall theme or not, because obviously the other ones kind of seem to have more of an overall theme. And I sort of feel like this one is almost like a day in the life of like somebody in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Whereas like, so like maybe like the car crash, like now I'm really like just digging in way too hard, but uh but the car crashes could just be like maybe a reference to that, to Raekwon, and then like maybe just like maybe Method Man's like sitting in his apartment or something and he just hears, you know, the car crashes from Raekwon's story and somehow it ties it together or something like that. I don't know. Probably
Okay.
not. But
Are
you
you sure
know,
you didn't engage in any extracurricular activities today?
I did not. I, I I can't, because if I did, I would just be worthless right now.
No, that's some interesting insight though. I like that.
Yeah, that's just me being like way too much of a nerd, honestly. But yeah, no, I feel like a overall running theme of this album, if there was one, would just be like Method Man, because he's just kind of got that personality where he's just like the cool dude hanging out, you know, like,
Yeah.
and everyone knows him. I know Riz has said it before, and I watched an interview with Method Man where the interviewer was saying Method Man gets along with everybody,
Uh-huh.
and not everybody in Wu-Tang gets along with everybody, but Method Man is pretty cool with just about anybody. Like he's, you know, he's pretty well known throughout the scene, and like
Yeah.
just probably was back in the day, no, pretty well known throughout the neighborhood, or even just probably New York, you know.
Mhm.
He just has that personality. So I feel like that would be like maybe the running theme of that album
Okay.
if there was. Which
Yeah.
I feel like it is what you said. It's just a good solo effort, really.
Hmm.
Um, but anyways, now that I'm done with that, my overall top score, I would have to say would be, I'm gonna agree with your score. Would you say 8.5?
I said an 8, but I recognize I don't have as much of a history with it, and there are probably some things I'm missing. So yeah, that's my caveat.
Okay. I would have to say 8.5 for me personally. I really love this record. I think is a great, I've listened to this record so much and
Yeah.
haven't listened to it in so long because I kind of listened to it too much at one point in time.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no, I think it's just a really, really solid album.
Okay.
Um, I don't think it's like the craziest thing I've ever heard, but I think it's super solid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's hard to disagree. I agree. It's solid and important. And where would you put it in like the overall Wu Tang pantheon? Top 10,
Uh,
top 20, top
I would
30.
have to say top 30. I would have to say it's definitely in my personal top 10
Okay.
just because of its importance to the groups and his career, you know.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I
So
mean,
and
help launch him.
it's a good list. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it's like, I mean, obviously the Purple Tape and, you know, Liquid Swords are probably like my top two, I would have to say, but this
Okay.
one is definitely up there. I don't exactly know where, but I think it deserves a spot for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Right on. Cool.
How about you?
Well, that's a good question. I would say maybe I don't somewhere between top 20 and top 30.
All right.
Like I said, it's just like the beats aren't my type of beats, and I'm big on beats and pulling me in. Um, so that's I think why it falls a little lower. And I agree with you, like I said, 100% that I think Method Man's gotten only better with time. Like it's really impressive to me to hear some like third tier wu-tang affiliate, and then Method Man jumps on and just completely crushes his verse.
Yeah.
And so like just he doesn't phone it in, and I think that's part of the reason why he's gotten better with time is he just has a really high level of professionalism. And so this, this is kind of where it all started in terms of his celebrity status. Um, and artistic status, I guess. So yeah, top 20, top 30, somewhere around there for now. But that
For
is
sure.
subject to change. Um, there are certainly albums that I have kind of neglected and that I've realized are actually much better than I originally gave them credit for. So that may well be the case here. I just haven't listened to it as much for whatever reason. It was
I think
like,
that's pretty fair.
yeah, I just like always gravitated towards 36 Chambers, Liquid Swords, Cuban Links, um, Mass Tequila, You God. I mean, yeah, Method Man solo stuff, even though I've had uh like several of the Tical sequels or prequels and the collabs with Redman, I just haven't jumped into as much. So um, we'll be doing more of that, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, let's wrap this up and just put out to the universe slash podcast land. You can check us out on Instagram, and we would love to hear from you if you have comments, feedback, questions, or if you want to support us on Patreon, patreon.com/wide world of woo, or email us wideworldofwoo@gmail.com. That's it for Method Man's debut Tical. Thanks a lot, Andy. And anything else that I'm missing on Tical?
No, I think we got it all covered.
Right on. Cool. Well, we will catch you next time. Peace out, podcast land.
Peace.
Tical.